All right, this is Wilfred Owen's Strange Meeting. A very difficult poem, hard to get under. I don't feel like I have this one all the way under control myself. Most people can't make full sense out of it, but the greatness that's in her in there is something, and it's worth reading and worth struggling through and to ponder and wonder about. So, which is why I've kept this one on the syllabus. I'll read it through it and we'll go over it. It seemed that out of battle I escaped down some profound, dull tunnel, long since scooped through granites which titanic wars had groined. Yet also there encumbered sleepers, groans, too fast in thought or death to be bestirred. Then, as I probed them, one sprang up and stared with piteous recognition and fixed eyes, lifting distressful hands as if to bless. And by his smile I knew that sullen hall, and by his smile I knew we stood in hell. With 1,000 fears that vision's face was grained, and no guns thumped or down the flues made moan. Strange friend, I said, here is no cause to mourn. None, said the other, save the undone years, the hopeless. Whatever hope is yours was my life also. I went hunting wild after the wildest beauty of the world, which lies not in not calm in eyes or braided hair, but mocks the steady running of the hour, and if it grieves richlier than here. For by my glee might many men have laughed, and of my weeping something had been left, which must die now. I mean the truth untold, the pity of war, the pity war distilled. Now men will go content with what we spoiled, or discontent, boil bloody and be spilled. They will be swift with swiftness of the tigress. None will break ranks, though nations trek from progress. Courage was mine, and I had mystery. Wisdom was mine, and I had mastery. To miss the march of this retreating world into vain citadels that are not walled. Then, when much blood had clogged their chariot wheels, I would go up and watch them from the sweet wells. Even with truths that lie too deep for taint, I would have poured my spirit without stint, but not through wounds, not on the cess of war. Foreheads of men have bled where no wounds were. I am the enemy you killed, my friend. I knew you in this dark, for so you frowned yesterday through me as you jabbed and killed. I parried, but my hands were loath and cold. Let us sleep now. I think, again, this one's an especially tough one, and I know a lot of the poetry's been tough to read for all of you. Don't the rest of the semester won't be quite this that difficult, I promise. Again, this is if you were able to maybe figure out a little bit, there's this bit of a narrative poem. He's telling a bit of a story, and essentially the story being told here is that. This is a soldier who's just been killed. And he kind of almost seems to wander down a sort of tunnel into the earth and go beyond. Very reminiscent of Dante's Hell and Dante's Inferno. I won't go too much into that, except that it's a very canonized epic work by an Italian poet, and in it a sort of pilgrim is led through all the layers of hell and seeing what the various sins do to people and things. This is a sort of smaller version of that where he seems to go. He's been killed in battle and he descends sort of behind, and the battle's still going on above him. They can kind of hear the hooves and the boots and the cannon and all going off. They can hear the sort of din and the racket of the battle still going on, and he's beneath it. But again, it's sort of one of those things where he thinks he doesn't realize he's dead for a while, right? It seemed that out of battle I escaped. He thinks he made it. Down some profound, dull tunnel, long since scooped through grants with titanic words had groined. The verb groined meaning kind of scooped out or grooved out. So he thinks he's escaped and he's gone down a long tunnel and he ends up in this dark, strange room where all these soldiers seem to be sleeping. And it takes him a little while, but he realizes it's soldiers of both sides. It's not just his brothers. The enemy soldiers are down there. It's just mismatched, all kinds of soldiers, and they're down there, and some are groaning and hissing and crying, and there's just all these sort of soft sounds, and they're sort of stirring in their sleep. And again, these are all kind of dead souls that haven't sort of found peace yet. Maybe is a simple way to sort of look at it, maybe a bit. But yet down unencumbered sleepers groan too fast, to be bestirred. When I probed, and then one of the soldiers sits up, right? Just sort of sits up in the dark and stares at him. And too fast, and then I probed him. One sprang up and stared with piteous recognition and fixed eyes. Boy, what a line that is. And again, the word piteous, which is both in this sense, pathetic, but also an empathic response to, and again, we're going to find out, the letter, at the very end, is he going to be, this is the soldier he had killed in battle the day before he got killed, right? So the guy, the soldier he killed him with a bayonet, which is often, by the way, how they would have in the trench warfare. To get anywhere, what you'd have to do is just send a big, large group of men over toward the enemy, which would almost always be mowed down. You'd have to send enough to the first rows would all be mowed down with machine gun fire. They were basically cannon fodder. And until you got to enough where you had enough that they couldn't keep up with it, and overwhelmed them, and that last sort of group of soldiers would have to jump down into the trenches with bayonets, because you'd be too close to even fire on them, and run them through their chest. Is how you'd kill the enemy soldier. That's what he did to this guy the day before. But again, he looks at him, and again, it's set up almost like this sort of horrific, scary, frightening sort of place. And you'd think again the soldier would want to get him back, but no, it's he stares with piteous recognition and fixed eyes, lifting his hands as if to bless. What a word to put on it, to bless. And again, reaching and again, this dead soldier kind of sits up, right, and then reaches for him, but not reaching for him like he's going to kill him or choke or cause him harm, but reaching as if to bless. And again, the dead soldiers, they seem all they want is to know peace. Again, is what they want, and they want to, an experience a kind of fellowship and a love for their fellow man. That's what the good, that is the opposite of war, right? And I guess you never appreciate that quite so much as when you've been in combat like this. And by his smile, I knew that Sullen Hall. By his dead smile, I knew we stood in hell. So now he knows where he is. He still doesn't quite recognize the soldier's the one he killed, but he realizes where he is and that he's dead, and he's in this weird sort of soldier's purgatory or something, beneath the earth. And again, by a smile, and then that dead smile, right? And that has to be referring to when soldiers die. And there's been quite a bit in soldiers' journals and a lot of again war literature about the smile of the dead soldier, and what that is when you're in combat, you're not there's not always time to bury the dead or even to get them off the battlefield, and you come across a lot of bodies, and a lot of times bodies after you can certainly Google image this, and as the rigor mortis sets in, the facial muscles tighten, and you get this sort of ghoulish. So that was the very good, a sort of smile, and it's a really creepy thing where you can't see the soldier's teeth as he wriggles, and he's all stiff and sitting there like that. And many soldiers had this recurring image in his nightmares when they get home of the dead soldiers. So that had to be the smile he's referring to here. And he recognized that smile. So, he's been out and he's been out in combat a while. This soldier, right, who's just been killed, he knows what that smile is. And that's how he knows he's dead, when he sees that sort of horrific smile. And then we get that long, sort of penultimate stanza that is a little bit hard to sort of piece out. But we get with 1,000, you get some gorgeous sort of imagery, dark, but also the gorgeous is the kind of again, just kind of a dark. There's a dark beauty to it, I guess. With 1,000 fears, that vision's face was grains. It shows, right, the wear and everything a soldier's seen on his face. Yet no blood reached there from the upper ground, and the guns, and he couldn't quite hear the guns or the thumps and the flues made moan. And that strange friend, I said, here is no cause to mourn. And he says, none but the untold years. And he goes, what hope was yours was mine too. We were both young men. We didn't know each other, right? In the world, I was in this world, you were in that one. But I too, kissed girls and wanted and loved beauty and hunted and just all the natural sort of ambitions young men have, which they often spend their lives feeling very wistful about afterwards. And I too hunted, the wildest beauty in the world. All of these ambitions and loves and everything I lusted after must die now. That's all the anticipation of what I was going to do and be. Is I'm gonna have to now let that go. It's just never going to be. I didn't get there. I was killed in this war. It must die now. I mean, the truth untold, the pity of war, distilled. Again, a great the line there, the way the reversal of it. And war is a kind of a crazy sort of concentration of all sort of human malevolence and animosity, sort of in this crazy chaotic sort of stew, right? And he was, the courage was mine, I had mystery, wisdom was mine. To miss the march of this retreating world, and that is quite a while, right? And they're both down there, and they know they're never going back, and they're just sort of drifting away from life itself. And how he wanted, the blood that clogged the chariot wheels, right, which was the ancient vehicle of war. And so again, war is as old as humanity, right? And then he wants to go and wash the wells. And again, that is often the desire of especially the wounded, and you would have to be, one would imagine, the desire of the killed soldier as well. So just be able to wash this all and further never, to have to be that again. I remember having a friend of mine who was actually on Omaha Beach. Used to hang around the place I worked. Frank died a few years ago. Just a kind man. And he'd if any of you have seen Saving Private Ryan, he was on. He marched on that. He rushed that beach and was walked with a limp the rest of his life because of it. And I just don't. I get. I just don't. He was the East got to make laugh, but he also drank rather heavily the rest of his life, and he always had that sort of sadness, sort of in his eyes too. And this was not a rough, tough macho guy in any way, and would never talk about it. Wouldn't go. I remember asking him if he saw that movie. No, I wouldn't. Boy, I felt terrible. It's just that I had asked the question, the way he recoiled when I asked him. So I mean, these things. Those experiences get inside guys, and they stay there. And then we do get to these, and then the foreheads, and then that's what he's describing, right? The foreheads of men have bled where no wounds were, and that is those thoughts that they just can't make sense of. They never can work out, and they often just keep churning and churning the rest of their lives. And then we do get to that last, that beautiful and profound final stanza. I am the enemy you killed, my friend, right? So now he realizes who it is he's been talking to. This is the man he ran a bayonet through just the day before. I am the enemy, you killed my friend. I knew you in this dark. What a line that is. In a way, these two enemy soldiers, which were mortal enemy, know one another with an intimacy they could never ever share with anyone else. They couldn't. Their families wouldn't understand. There's something, and there is something and that is the thing that I think. Bonds soldiers together. I think it is such. Combat is such a wild and intense experience and a unique one. That's if you it is one of those things where until and there's other things like this. Childbirth is like that. I remember if you haven't held your own child for the first time, you really don't know what that's like. I mean, it's just this amazing, overwhelming sort of experience. If you even if you've never been in love, and again, almost all of us manage, to do that. It's that sort of overwhelming gobsmacked sort of experience. But and again, this is a huge difference. But not everyone experiences combat. These two men, again, would have a deep, intimate connection about something. And this is why, again, VFW halls are still, filled at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night all over this country. And why Army buddies stay in touch. And boy, they might not have seen each other for 10 or 15 years, but the second they do, that embrace and there is a sort of shared experiential connection that cannot be that they cannot share with anyone else, and it is the biggest thing they've ever experienced, the most sublime thing. And again, yes, it's horrific and horrible, but it's also the most profound and amazing thing they ever experienced. And I'll tell you what, that first, the soldier, that first time, it's just pure terror. But I'll tell you what, that third time, it's not quite as terrifying. That third battle, the fifth battle, the 10th, the 15th, the 21st one. Also, man, you were there's a courage, and a steel, that sort of settled into you, that can, and again, there's an inebriation to it, an addiction, even, to the intense feeling. And so these guys can sort of share all that. But again, they've lost their lives. Let's not forget. I knew you in this dark, and again, that's just such a, just a beautiful, I mean, almost a line you'd say to a lover, right? I knew you in this dark, for so you frowned yesterday through me. Meaning he, the look on his face as he came up over, the trench and would have just jumped down on him and ran the bayonet through him, right through me yesterday. He has no bitterness toward this soldier who took his life either and who killed him yesterday in a vicious way, by the way, right? So jumping over and running a bayonet through his chest, probably screaming or something as he did it, and looking, with his, that intense sort of face. You frowned for me yesterday, I parried, meaning I tried, but my hands were so cold, those trenches were cold, and my hands were loathed and cold, so I understand, because I reached for my weapon and tried to kill you too, but my hands were too cold, and you just got there before, you killed me before I killed you. And then that last line, let us sleep now. And they are going for the ultimate sleep, right? Because they're never going to experience life again. But again, always the soldier, and the intense desire for the simplest of relief and pleasures, which is sleep itself, and the ability just to be calm and to rest, which they often long for the rest of their lives. All right, that is Wilfred Owen's Strange Meeting.